technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to By the Bay. I'm your host, Dan Ancheta, and I'm thrilled that you're here. So please do like and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you might be listening to this. Thank you for being here and for being part of the audience of By the Bay. And today I have a great guest, easy for me to say. Landra Barta is here, and we met through BNI, which is a cool thing. I actually need to do a full episode about BNI and how that's worked for my business. But we met through BNI. You came as a visitor because you're in a different chapter. Right. And you came to check us out at Professional Connections, which is the BNI group that I'm in. And then we just kind of started talking. So you are the owner of Dirty Deeds, which is a home staging, organizing company. How about you why don't you introduce yourself to everyone and tell us about your business and what you do.
Good. Yes, I own Dirty Deeds, professional home staging and organizing, and that's kind of how I got the name. I started out as a home organizer, and I did a lot of shops and garages and kitchen cabinets, home offices, things like that. And I started to get a lot of calls from realtors saying, I've got a big job on my hands. We've got a lot of decluttering to do before we get this house, on the market. And I'm only one person. I can't do all this. Can you come in and help us? And so I did that a handful of times. And each time things were bugging me. I'm like, God, can we pull that couch away from that window? Sure. What about, these two chairs in the living room instead of the dining room? And so I just kind of helped move things around. And every realtor was ecstatic. Wow, you've got a really good eye for this. I knew something was missing, didn't know what it was. So thank you. Yeah. And then I'm like, what about the towels? They're kind of dingy,
Yeah.
Have you thought about running out and getting this or whatever? And they're like, actually, do you have time? And so it just turned into
kind of
home
snowballs
staging.
From there. So when you're staging, there's primarily, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is two different ways that people do staging. There's you clear out the house and you bring all of your own stuff in. Mm-hmm. And then there's you optimize what's already there and maybe add a few kind of accent pieces, a little something to kind of spruce up what the homeowner, home seller already has in there. Which variety are you offering?
I actually do offer both. Okay. I've got access to a large warehouse of very stylish, neutral kind of California casual furniture that is from another stager who is trying to exit and retire. And so I can do a full complete staging. I think my sweet spot is really the owner-occupied staging. I'm kind of hate to say this, but a glass half empty kind of gal. So I walk in and kind of can see issues and problems right away and then just start using problem solving and go from there. So I think that's where I'm the busiest.
Totally. I don't know what the stats are, but I can just say from walking through a lot of open houses in my day that you can tell when a home's been professionally staged and when it hasn't been. And I know that there's statistics and data that supports it, but taking the time to really optimize your home while you're selling it or before you're selling it adds significant value and reduces the time it takes to sell a home. So that's a really fascinating kind of psychological thing that we do, right? Where it's really taking the time to depersonalize the house and kind of taking out the things that we may consider to be our own creature comforts that are really nice for us as homeowners to have. But giving a relatively neutral palette for a buyer to come in and look at it and go, oh, I can imagine my stuff here. It's hard to imagine your stuff when other stuff is there, right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of want the open wall to be able to imagine this is where the family photos might go. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So how long have you been? When did you start the business?
It's been about 2 years.
Okay. Nice.
Officially on the books, but I've helped so many people do this to their home, just, friends and acquaintances, and have seen my home and it's I want you to come help me with mine. But it's interesting how you brought up psychology because it plays a really big role. I think most realtors get that, but so many times people make a snap decision. They walk into a room or a house and they're like, I don't like this. I don't know why, I just don't like it.
Right.
And if they don't know why, the realtor can't help find something that they do like. But so much of it is really subconscious of what you don't like. And sometimes you see something, I think most women are the big decision makers with the design. You know, they walk in, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And the guys are like, wait a second, let's walk around.
It's interesting because when we bought our most recent house in 2019, like I can't visualize a space in my head. I think there's a term for it, but I like can't see a picture of the living room and in my head and like rearrange the furniture or like change the paint color. Where my wife can like look at the space and be like, okay, we're gonna take this thing out and move this couch and do this thing and change the floors and change this and like do these things. And she can imagine what it looks like in the future. I can't do that. I need like a picture or a drawing or to actually like move the couch before I can actually like understand how that impacts the space. So I think it's really, important that, you're looking at your home, especially for selling it, from a neutral standpoint instead of like the way that you look at it. Does that make sense? Like I kind of get used to seeing the stuff that's in my house, right?
Sure.
And when if you were to walk into our house, you'd be like, wow, they have like a kid's art table in our living room where the kids like, that's kind of like their space. You would probably look at that and go, oh my God, we've got to clear this thing out of here because this is like chaos. But it's normal for me because it's there every day. Yeah. So like having that third party that comes in, that's just like, hey, let's look at everything without judgment. Just if you want to maximize the sale of your home, here's what you need to do.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in addition to the home staging business, you also have a professional organizing business. So that's just like if you're a homeowner and you just need some help organizing your stuff to just give it order and like systemization of things.
Yeah.
So tell me about that business, and I'm sure you have some crazy stories about people you've helped with their organizing.
Well, I think when we experienced COVID and so many people were forced to work from home in a hurry and not being able to go out and buy, the correct, ergonomic things or organizational things, a lot of these home offices got like thrown together. And then, like your kid's art table, you don't see it after a while.
Right.
But the person that walks in, that's kind of the first thing they see, especially if they don't have kids.
Sure. No, exactly. That would be a major distraction.
Yeah.
Someone walked in there.
So same thing with home office. It's something that you walk in, it's functional for you, or you think it is, you know what I mean? And then someone gets in there with a second set of eyes that's also not emotionally tied to anything in that office and that can come in very objectively and say, hey, you got light coming in on the side here. It's very hard to, to be present in a Zoom meeting when you've got all this shadow on your face. And what are these books here? Do you even use these? Why are they front and center? Just kind of asking the questions that can kind of start the conversation of how can we get the things that you really need right in front of you and the things that are a distraction or noise, I like to call it, up in a box, up in the closet that, you don't use as often.
Totally.
So that was kind of a big thing with organizing right in the beginning. There was a lot of home offices.
That makes a lot of sense because you're like that quick transition going from, hey, I have this other space I go to every day, and now I need to make a different part of my house functional for professional meetings and, meeting with clients or meeting with coworkers. And how do I make that work, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if it's like a small, I still see lots of people on Zoom calls in like the corner of their bedroom,
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so how are we like setting things up so that, it's angled correctly and you have like a separate space, even though it might be in a shared space.
Yeah.
Right. So if someone listening to this may be having issues with just like some basics of organization and how do you like create those systems? Do you have any like off the cuff advice for those that may be like, hey, now that I've listened to this, I'm looking around our house and it is kind of a bit out of sorts or it is a little disorganized and I want to do something about it. Any like couple quick things that you might suggest that they do to start that systemization? Sure.
Well, one of the things that I do before I leave is I put a system in place, like saying, okay, because people get afraid that like, how am I going to keep it like this? I was like, okay, well, right when you walk in with your mail, don't throw it on a pile in your desk. We've got, I think inboxes are super important. I also think just having a small file cabinet, even it's just one of those Tupperware type, 8.5 by 11 boxes that has a little lid and it shoves under your desk. I having something that I say let's try not to touch things more than once. So if while the mail's in your hand, sort it into the recycle, open up to be paid, stick those in the to be paid, and just kind of while it's in your hand rather than getting these piles, because that's where we get in trouble, right? Once you start a pile, it's so easy to throw stuff on top of
I'm
it.
like a piler.
Yeah,
I am.
yeah.
I have like, my wife laughs at me because you can tell where I've been in the house, because there's like, when I walk in, there's like a pile of some stuff by the door, and then there might be some stuff on the stairs I'm going to take up later, and and then upstairs in our closet, which is, we have a built-in, like, very nice kind of closet thing in our walk-in, and still there's piles of my stuff everywhere. So it's something I definitely struggle with, just the way that my brain works.
Yeah.
But so just touch it once, don't put it down and add it to a pile. Instead of leaving it on the stairs, take it up and put it away where it's supposed to go right away. That type of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And then I don't want people to clean up their house before I come over, because I do want to see where your piles are and what your routine is. Because you may have a reason that you drop your stuff right there. Maybe that's where the dog meets you. And that's a really important connection right in that moment. They've been waiting for you to come home all day.
Yeah.
That brings you a lot of joy. You want to drop to your knees, put your stuff here, and be with the dog.
Yeah, it's usually
with the child.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
As soon as I walk through the door,
Yeah.
usually all three of the kids are running at the door at me.
Totally.
And it's like, okay, take my stuff, put it in a place where I'll remember where it is. Everything kind of goes together.
Yeah, exactly.
And but that's definitely a piler.
So I would follow you through the house and kind of find out what does it look like when you walk in the door? How do these piles get here? And then just figuring a way that is comfortable for you, that doesn't feel obsessively compulsive trying to get these in the right spot. But also sometimes people, like if you were to walk upstairs with that outfit or whatever, that coat or something, maybe you don't want to look for a hanger and hang it right then. It's just not in your blood. But in the next morning when you get dressed, you'll do it then. So then if that type of person, then we institute hooks. It's like, okay, this is where your jacket goes. You don't have to hang it up. So I don't want to force new habits on people. I just want to assimilate into their life. Hey, what's working for you? What isn't? And how can I ask some questions and pose some new ways of doing things to just kind of neaten up your life and get rid of some of that chaos?
Yeah, that's probably more effective, instead of being like, hey, just be a completely different person, right? And then everything will be fine. It's like, no, you might have these tendencies, so that's okay. Let's just, add some tools for you to stay a little bit more organized.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do the home staging, the professional organizing. I'm like looking at your website and stuff, and we'll make sure there's links to that in the show notes so people can find you.
Great.
So if someone were to utilize you for professional organizing, is there is it a one-time visit? Is it a monthly plan that you come help them? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's different. Some people really just have one little pain point area where it's like bottlenecks in their house, and for whatever reason they haven't been able to get past it, but the rest of their place is clean. So maybe that's an 8-hour day where I go do a home office in 8 hours. A lot of times people want to try me out. They want to see like, is my personality going to gel with her? Is she going to tell me? That's the biggest fear, is she can tell me to throw away this stuff or what to get rid of.
My precious belongings.
Right. And I will never tell anyone to get rid of anything. I'll just ask the right questions that lead them to, maybe I don't need this. Maybe this could be donated, or I only use this once a year. So let's get this in a tub, labeled, and put up in the garage somewhere useful. So, a lot of times people are trying me out for one time. And then at the end of the visit, I say, is this something you want to continue? You were mentioning that you have the same issue with your garage. Do you want to set that up in a couple of weeks? And so that usually just one job begets the other.
Project-based.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like a huge commitment,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like, hey, try me out for a project.
Yeah.
If you like the way that we're working together, then let's go down the list of other things that you might need
that
some
are
help
bugging
with.
you.
Yeah.
And I have a 4-hour minimum, so that's perfect for a small project. If it was a closet, not a huge walk-in closet, but a hall closet or a linen closet that maybe extended down the hall or something. I've always been told I'm super fast at what I do, so you'll be surprised at what we do get done in the 4 hours. But if it's a home office or a chunk, it's going to take an 8-hour day probably.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because like in certain regards for me, I'm very organized. Like I build a lot of Legos, right? I think you've seen my office, and so I have like 10 like the screw organizer bins that are all labeled and all the pieces are separated. And so in certain ways, like I'm very like diligent about organizing things. Like I don't put stuff where that doesn't go. Everything has to be put together in the right way. But in other regards, like, you know, I just don't have the right systems, I guess. Right? Just is that what you find? Just like people just don't, they're willing to do it if they have the right system, but just like the creating of the system holds them back from being more organized?
Sure, but then some people just don't want to, and so that's fine too. Like, again, I'm not going to tell you, you know, this looks like hell, you got to clean this up. You know, you tell me what bothers you, what's not working for you, and then we work towards a solution. Maybe you do like having 6 jackets at the front door or whatever, and it's not an issue for you, and it's not an issue for your partner, and we move on from that.
Got it. Yeah, mine's sweatshirts. A lot of sweatshirts, just piles. Anyway, do you have any like what's the craziest project you've taken on, or something that was like, wow, that's something that you'll always remember in terms of just like what you've walked into and what you've gotten out of it?
You know, I don't want to label anything, but I know that there is an issue with hoarding. You know, we've seen the show, and it's, you know, there are certain people that is a clinical diagnosis, and I'm not capable. I'm not equipped, I'm not equipped, because I think there is a whole psychology behind that disorder.
That's a little bit different than home organizing.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think sometimes people expect some crazy story, like I walked into some hoarder situation, and I always get a couple pictures or FaceTime, or I know exactly kind of what is going on. And there's times where I've turned away work just because it was like, you know, I know even if I went through and spent 3 days and redid that whole garage, it will end up the same in about a month.
Right. Yeah.
So there's certain days I don't take on. As far as a crazy story, maybe one will come to me.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I was just maybe not crazy is that because that's a little like labeling, like you said, but maybe like just a memorable project that you took on and that turned out to be like a great result. But we can come back to that question.
Okay.
So this show was really based around Bay Area real estate, right? That's the premise of By the Bay. Yeah. And so I think what you do is really, really important for home sellers and for realtors. And so I'd like just to take a minute to kind of go back to the home staging conversation and kind of dig into that a little bit more and talk to me about like how you partner with real estate professionals and specifically what you do to help them like maximize the value of a home that they might be selling, or get it situated so that it can sell faster than, you know, if they didn't engage with someone like you.
Yeah. I think, you know, we've all walked into an open house that was just way overdone. It was almost like the stager wanted to showcase their design ability rather than stage a home that's for sale. Because I think they're two very different things. I think a house that you're going to stay in and you bring in an interior designer to come in, you want it to feel comfy and cozy and you want to see your things around. But when you're staging a home, you want a lot of margin around, a lot of blank walls, blank space, area around furniture. I pay a lot of attention to the flow of traffic. Like if you walk in the front door, can I get to the kitchen really easy? Can I get to, you know, the hall really easy? And so I want to have a little bit like less is more. So, you know, when you say the term neutral, that's exactly what I'm looking for is, you know, anyone could come into the space, whether it be a bachelor, a family, a group of friends, whatever, that are purchasing this place and see their stuff in it. So it makes it difficult when you're owner-occupying staging because there is a specific style that someone already has established there. And people love that feeling of walking into those open houses that are brand new homes on the market. You know what I mean? Those 6 model homes that are just decked out to the nines. Totally. Every finish, every couch, every little piece of anything. People love that. And that helps them kind of like showcase how wonderful this house is, but it doesn't necessarily help them see, you know, their items in there. It almost makes them feel bad about their items. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes I've actually heard that feedback from people that are like, yeah, I don't think that has the right house for us. Like, well, why? It's like, it just was like, you know, not really our style. It's like, oh, you know, part of that might be that it's like too nice of a house in a way. You know, it's like this doesn't really fit with our stuff. You know, So
we
really,
entertain, we have dogs, we have kids,
Sure.
whatever. We'd mess this up kind of.
yeah. No, I totally get that. But I think, having it be neutral, but like warm enough where it's like a homey place, but also not super specific to the seller. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's really
a
important.
challenge. It is.
Yeah, especially if you're living in the house while it's going on. I was just talking to clients this morning, and they're like, well, we need to figure out what we're doing because we've got, 2 cats, a dog, 2 kids, this and that. And it's like, how are you going to stage that house? Like, how are you going to prepare that to be sold? Like, you need to move out.
Right.
You need to move out, at least for like the first 4 or 5 days of it being on the market, like the first weekend and like the broker tour, like Wednesday to Sunday, you got to get out of here. Otherwise, it can be just too hard to show. And then it does diminish, potentially the value of what you're going to get for the house. So why not go stay with a friend or get a hotel room for a few days? Go to Disneyland. You're selling your house. Go do it.
Right.
And just like leave it be so that it can be like really perfect for anyone who's coming in to buy.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'm scheduled last. If they've got a couple subcontractors coming in, a painter, maybe an electrician's going to add some can lights or something. Then they've got, the photographer's coming Friday morning. Let's get Landra in all day Thursday.
Right.
She'll do her magic. We'll try not to touch anything. And then sometimes the photographer's willing to come right at 5:30 or whatever when I'm done. And that's obviously ideal.
You're finishing up in the kitchen while he's waiting for the perfect light outside.
Totally.
Good for you.
That can be really ideal.
Totally.
Yeah. But I do know that there's a practical side of it. And, like you said, people coming and going and living there and making their own bed and that kind of thing. So I do take a picture of each room and text it to the owner because they're like, how am I ever going to make my bed like this? And so I'm like, well, it's super simple. I'm just going to take a picture and you'll see, how it's done and you'll be able to duplicate
do the fold over thing. So
Sure.
Totally. So I think like if you're like looking at selling your house, you're contemplating like, should I pay for the staging? Is the realtor going to pay for it? Am I going to pay for it? Like, just make sure it's staged. Make sure that even if it is your stuff in the house, that there's a third party that comes through, helps you declutter. It's nothing personal. They want the best for you. They want you to maximize the value of your home and like listen to the advice. Don't take it personally. It's not a crack on you if they just don't like, where your couch is in the house. It's nothing wrong with you, but take the advice and do what the stager asks you to do. And that's going to help you sell for a much higher value than otherwise. Makes a big difference for sure. So the other thing I was curious about, because when we had met, you were talking about like a seasonal offering that you're doing. That's not part of your day-to-day operation. So tell us about your Christmas light situation.
Well, I think this time of year, things just slow down traditionally in real estate. People are like, the holidays are coming up. I'll sell in the spring or I'll sell in January, February. And so a lot of people, can stop that cycle. And so all of us that are in the industry tend to slow at that point. And something, I've thought about for at least a decade is Christmas light installation. So many people don't want to get up on a ladder or, they don't know how to calculate how long, how many bulbs they can plug in and, how that whole issue that I always think of the Chevy Chase movie, Christmas Vacation.
So funny.
That's the best.
I'm one of those people on the ladder. I am not a confident ladder or roof person. I'm like up there. I'll do it, but I'm like shaking, the ladder's like rattling against the house. It's not my most comfortable place.
Totally.
So for a small fee or a reasonable, I am happy to have someone come out and hang up lights. So that's obviously for the holiday season, and people are starting to book up now, I'm assuming, because they want everything to be scheduled and ready to go.
That's right.
And so is that like your own crew of people? How does that work?
Yes. We do have an insured crew, and we charge $10 a linear foot, and that includes the lights, the install, a timer, January removal, us coming back and removing them. We tag it all, and then we'll store it away. And then next year we'll pull out your lights. And these are custom cut for each house. So they're commercial grade that come in, just a huge spool, 500 feet or 1,000 feet. And we custom cut it per house, and then we'll splice the electrical in. And then we take off each piece, label it, put it in our storage, and bring it back. And then next year you get 10% off because it's already cut, for your house.
Cool. So like, if I only wanted you to do a certain amount of the lights on my house, is that okay? Or is it like if you have to do all of them? Does that make sense? So if it's
no, we have a $500 minimum.
Got it.
So if someone's like, hey, we just
need this one
right
little section.
Here.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the whole house. So if you can do the ones on your fence and you can do the ones on like you don't need a tall ladder for, but you guys will come do the hard ladder stuff.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's awesome. I will probably call you because there's probably a project there.
And most lights are green, that dark green.
Yeah.
And just design-wise, I chose to go a different route. So I'm doing white or black.
Okay.
And then we have warm white and we have multicolored.
Nice.
And I think some people may want some custom stuff like, they love the candy cane, the white and red, and we can special order that too.
Nice. And so how far away, like our audience is kind of through the greater Bay Area when I look at the stats. So there's a lot of folks from San Francisco and South Bay and East Bay. Yeah. So for this offering, where geographically are you guys willing to go? I mean, for the right price, for the big job, you might make an exception to this, right? But
sure. If it's a much larger job, we would go to the East Bay. But for the most part, we're going to be in Sonoma, Marin County, and San Francisco as well. I am a member of the Women's Council of Realtors in San Francisco. I'm a strategic partner for them. So I go to a lot of their events and have a lot of good relationships in there. And they're kind of helping me spread the word down in San Francisco, too.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Right on. So besides those offerings, is there anything else that Dirty Deeds does that we should know about? Home staging, organizing, Christmas light installation. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want to diversify and go too thin.
Yeah.
Really want to specialize in those items. And we're really excited to offer the Christmas lights this year. And we've got a really good, response so far. So excited.
Wonderful. Well, we'll make sure that everyone knows how to get a hold of you and put contact information, website, and social media and stuff in the show notes. And anything else you want to say to the audience before we head out?
Yeah, I think one thing we didn't touch on is a lot of stagers are just interior. Just come in, put their stamp on it and finish and head out. And with the owner occupied staging, there's a lot of stuff that the homeowner needs to do before they sell the house, and the realtor's throwing a bunch of ideas at them and it can get overwhelming. I've got about 7 years in the construction industry prior to owning this company. So I've got a lot of great relationships with subcontractors that I really trust, that I've used for years.
Yeah, wonderful.
And, it can be hard to find. There's a lot of them out there. And I start my process when I leave my car from the curb. And I'm making, pictures and lists about, hey, we need, 6 bags of bark under these rose bushes. The gutters need to be cleaned. I've got a great guy that can come out and power wash the sidewalk and this driveway. And, these address numbers are kind of dated. If we just put in these 3 modern ones, it'll really change the whole look. Let's paint the front door black. I come with this list starting, like I said, from the curb all the way through the backyard and everything. And my eye just goes to problems, where sometimes people don't notice. But
you've trained it. You've trained your eye to find the opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so what someone subconsciously, what are they going to notice? If they notice that it's, a dirty or, mossy walkway or whatever, it might not trigger something that's like, oh my gosh, this is bad and dangerous, but it does kind of tell you something about the care and maintenance of the house, right? Like you want to present that from the beginning, that this is a well cared for home that's
right.
That it's worth every penny that you're going to spend on it.
It's been maintained well and all that. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that I do kind of a full design review. Like, hey, these are the ways to optimize the house and get the very most you can. I'll notice if their recessed lights trims don't match, or their plugs and their switches are different. I just notice all that little type of things that really do elevate a house and make it look, put together and more expensive, really.
Wonderful. That's a great service, and thank you for sharing. And like I said, we'll make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. And if you are a realtor in the Bay Area and you need a wonderful home staging partner, definitely reach out to Landra, and we'll go from there.
Great.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Dan.
We'll see you next time.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show.